you'll remember that off-duty pilot sitting in the cockpit on the Horizon Air flight coming from Everett, Washington to San Francisco, diverted to Portland, Oregon, after this off-duty pilot threatened to pull a lever or some type of an emergency handle to shut off the plane's engine. Well, that off-duty pilot appearing in court there today in Multnomah County, and you can see him right there, Joseph David Emerson, his name. We've been speaking to some of our Fox 2 Bay Area reporters. Remember his home there in Pleasant Hill, California? But he was arraigned today there in the Seattle area. Let's get into this even more with our Fox 13 Seattle friends and reporters, including Matthew Smith. He's been all over this story, and he joins me now. Matthew, thanks so much for being with us here. You've been covering this pretty extensively over the course of the last 2 days. I have the criminal complaint in front of me, and it is so wild. What have you found out? Who have you spoken to in this story?
Boy, I tell you what, so we're reaching out and trying to talk to people that were actually on that flight. I'll tell you, I live in Everett, so I'm not far away from the airport where this all originated from. And we know a lot of people were actually trying to get to San Francisco, where the flight was actually supposed to be heading. I've been talking to a lot of people, though, on the law enforcement side today, both in the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, the people that work the jail there, the prosecuting attorney's office, and also the U.S. Attorney's Office, because you see, he's actually facing charges in two different tracks, both locally and federally. Today, the video that you just saw is video of him at the Multnomah County Courthouse. That's out near Portland. That is where that flight was diverted to. And again, he's facing more than 150 charges. 83 of those are attempted murder. And one of the wildest things, you noted that court document. He actually says, I messed up everything. And he told a flight attendant, according to that document, that he was trying to kill everybody. Today, he pleaded not guilty. We actually had a chance to listen into the court system as it was unfolding today.
There is probable cause to believe that defendant has committed one of the offenses.
It is a low point for 44-year-old Joseph Emerson, now facing 83 attempted murder charges. The longtime pilot was a regular in our parts, not only as a pilot for Alaska Airlines, but as a Cheney grad.
I've flown a variety of aircraft throughout my career.
In a video posted by the Cheney School District several years back, Emerson was being celebrated in this profile. He talked about falling in love with flying as a kid and knowing it was his future.
The background that I got through my experiences in Cheney as a community, in Spokane as a community, helped make me the man I am today.
They're just great neighbors, nice people.
Neighbors in California couldn't believe the news either. From the well-manicured lawn down to the Halloween decorations, nothing seemed off. A deep dive into his social media accounts found Emerson, pictured here smiling and playing a ukulele, as a guy focused on two things: sports and flying.
Our grandson goes over there when he's visiting us, and his kids come over here.
We've got the guy that tried to shut the engines down out of the cockpit.
But on Sunday, Emerson is accused of trying to crash a plane with 83 people on board. That includes 11 kids under 14. Emerson, off-duty and riding in what's known as a jump seat in the cockpit, was talking weather before suddenly stating, "I'm not okay," and grabbing for a lever that would essentially have killed the engines, turning that plane into a jumbo-sized glider. Now, FlightAware shows how the flight, meant for San Francisco, quickly rerouted to Portland. In a court document obtained by Fox 13, we learned that he told a flight attendant, quote, "You need to cuff me now or it's going to be bad," only later to reach for an emergency exit before a flight attendant stopped him.
Now, that actually is the newest information, something we didn't know until just today. We had heard that he was in the cockpit causing concern there. We can get into a little bit more of what he actually did, because we have a better idea and understanding with these court documents. But the thing we had not heard until now, Andrew, was that he actually tried to reach for the emergency exit during that descent again. So not once, but twice did he try to bring this plane down in just a short amount of time.
Yeah, and Matthew, we're also hearing from Alaska Airlines, the parent company of Horizon, and they were quite declarative today. They said at no time did the plane's engines shut off at all. So kind of like two thwarted attempts by Emerson there to disrupt this flight, and it could have been so bad. Let's just go over some of the points here in the criminal complaint. I have them in front of me because I think this was the most interesting here. Emerson said He was an employee of Alaska Airlines, had been a pilot since 2001. He said he felt dehydrated and tired. He confirmed he sat in the cockpit. He said, "I didn't feel okay. It seemed like the pilots weren't paying attention to what was going on. It didn't seem right." He said, "I pulled both emergency shutoff handles because I thought I was dreaming and I just want to wake up." And he confirmed, he admitted that he was trying psychedelic mushrooms. He was on that. He was under their influence at the time, right?
So he says in the court documents that we were able to obtain today that it was a day or two prior to that flight and that he hadn't slept in 40 hours. We don't know what that exactly means. Had he taken the mushrooms, couldn't sleep, continued to not sleep? Was he under the effects? We don't really know clearly. They don't state all that specifically in this court document. What we do know is that he was depressed. He was talking about how nothing was right ever since he lost a dear friend of his. Again, that he was on mushrooms at one point shortly before getting on that plane, a day or two, and that he hadn't slept in 40 hours. In fact, there's actually this point, Andrew, where he talks about how he thought he was dreaming and he wanted to wake up. But one thing that I noted when I started digging a little bit deeper and looking at the county report versus the FBI report is you start putting together a little bit more of this piece where somebody asked him, did he want to kill himself? And he said, "I just want to wake up for this nightmare." So it's unclear whether he was talking about ending this nightmare that was his life or a literal nightmare like he was asleep while he was up there. Obviously, a lot of people think that he was disturbed, and he did, frankly, admit to the flight attendants and the flight crew that he was trying to take that plane down. He actually at one point said that he was admitting to everything that he did, only to go to court today and then plead not guilty.
Wow. Also, I was kind of curious about the interaction in the cockpit amongst the pilots, and he was there in the cockpit as well, what's known as, I believe, jump seat, sitting there in the cockpit, but obviously not flying the plane. So I was kind of curious, was this all handled calmly, or was there a physical confrontation, the pilots flying the plane, trying to get him to stop it? And the criminal complaint confirms that. It was physical, wasn't it?
Yeah, 25 to 30 seconds is what's described. And one court document, it's listed as physical confrontation. But if you look at the other, and I know we have two different legal tracks happening here, but piecing them together, you know that it's 25 to 30 seconds in physical. Another, it's referred to as wrestling. Basically what happens is he was acting normal, talking about the weather, and then all of a sudden he blurted out, "I'm not okay." Both pilots heard him say that, and then he got up and he basically lunged for this lever or levers. And the idea here is that if he would have pulled those all the way, it's a fire suppression system. But what happens when you pull that fire suppression system is it cuts the engines off because no fuel can go once that lever is fully pulled. It reads as if he started to pull it but didn't fully, so the fuel never stopped going to the engines. Had he done that, it literally says that he would have been in basically a oversized glider. There would have been no power to those engines. They would have been high in the sky and without power to the engines. I'm not an expert on aviation, so I don't know whether or not they could have restarted those before they would have crash landed. But the ultimate goal here was obviously to bring that plane down with everybody on inside. And we should know that it's 83 people that were on board, but also a lot of young children.
Wow.
And you did ask, was this calm? While it wasn't calm in the cockpit, what we're understanding is the pilots were pretty calm here. And I've seen a number of people that were actually on that plane who referenced that they didn't realize what was going on. It was just described as a medical event. Some people actually started to learn about all this after they were on the ground and this reporting started to come out. And some of those people have since said that they actually appreciate the fact that these pilots kept things so calm. Of course, meanwhile, you have a guy that was in basically zip ties sitting in the back end of the plane, trying to grab that emergency exit one more time. So just a chaotic situation, but yeah, some calmness from the people in the cockpit not named Emerson.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And you have to just admire the wherewithal, the quick thinking of these pilots in the cockpit to realize what was going on. That to me is so stunning. Matthew, just lastly, what are we looking for next in this story? The arraignment took place today. Do you think we're going to be hearing more from the airlines, the FAA, and some of those passengers who no doubt were on a very scary situation? But that's a silver lining in all this. They didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, so I think what's up next, Multnomah County, he'll go back before a judge once again. And this is basically for him to find out if he can actually make bail, if he'll ever be set free before he eventually goes before a judge for the actual trial for this, if, of course, they even bring charges. I mean, we assume that they will based on the large amount of evidence that they have. Then dual track here, in the next couple of days, we should be also seeing him go before a judge. Maybe seeing isn't the right word because it'd be in a federal court, so it wouldn't be on camera, but he would go before a judge for federal charges. Because remember, interfering with a flight is also a federal crime. So the U.S. District Attorney's Office out of Oregon is also filing charges here. So what's next? A court appearance in Multnomah County to find out if this guy can bond out and go home. And then also him going before a judge in a district court to find out whether he'll also face federal charges.
Wow. All right, Fox 13 Seattle's Matthew Smith. As always, we appreciate your reporting. Matthew, talk soon.
Thanks.